Selfie Taylor.
Yes, sir.
We in the house, man.
Yes, sir.
We're not just in the house, we're in your house. This is your place.
Yes, the house that Taylor built.
That Taylor built. Man, so I met you maybe 20 years ago?
Almost
Maybe more
25 years ago.
25 years ago.
Yeah, 24 years ago, I think, to be exact. 24.
I was probably 19.
Yeah, I was 23 years old.
So here's what's wild. At 20, when I met you all those years ago, did you think you would have a space like this right now?
Yes. Yes, 100%.
Why?
Call it delusions of grandeur, what have you. I graduated college at 22. I had one simple, modest dream at that time, and that was to become a millionaire by the time I was 25.
Bro,
Right.
I remember you telling me that. And I was like still playing ball. I think you had just graduated. And I couldn't even compute what you were saying. And I think you said something like, I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm like 27 or something.
Yeah, I said 25. It took me till 27.
Okay.
But that was the declaration. And if you said, why are you so confident? Or, okay, what's your plan? Like, how are you going to do it? I would have said, like, I have no idea how I'm going to do it.
Right.
But I'm going to do it. And it's that mentality that is kind of reigned true, you know, my entire life. Being a fellow athlete, you can appreciate that. You gonna win the game? Of course I'm gonna win the game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
How many points you have? You're gonna have as many as is necessary to win, or like it's like whatever is required, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of that mentality. Like I love that quote: "How you do some things is how you do everything," right? So I think it's funny because not only did other people not know, well, how the heck you're gonna do that? I had no idea on how I was gonna do that, but I had a belief.
Okay. So help us understand then, because that's obviously different. This podcast is called The Difference. Sure. So why are you different? Who does that? Like who at 21, 22 says I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 25? Bro, that is strange. That's super strange.
I think it comes down to, I think there's nature and nurture. I think we're all inherently a certain way, but your environment certainly can either enhance or quell, right? These natural gifts that you have. You know, my father is from Ghana, West Africa. You know, you put 4 West Africans in a room, 3 of them have some kind of postgraduate degree. So double PhD, doctor, really, you know, was on me, on my brother to my dad used to always tell me, be the best or among the best. My mother grew up Jim Crow South, North Carolina. Came from literally picking cotton as a kid to being a manager of a Social Security office for 49 years, right? So very proud, you know, woman. She had her own declaration to me every day, which we get out of the car to go to school. She would say, be a trendsetter today. So this is the kind of messaging that I'm getting as a little boy. My senior year in college, I wrote to a Forbes magazine. And I'd created these business cards at the time, and it had my name, it had my dorm address, and a quote on it that said, "He's Selfie Taylor making decisions that will shape the world." And I wrote to Forbes magazine, and I said to them, "My name's Selfie Taylor. I'm a senior at Concordia University in Portland, Oregon. I'm going to be on the cover of your magazine one day. Can you let me know what? Can you let me know what criteria?"
What is wrong with you?
I don't know, the sickness, I say. Can you let me know what criteria I need to fulfill to like get on the cover? Like, so I can do that. Like, let me know what I need to do.
What I need to do.
Now they didn't respond, right? So oddly enough, 20 years later, I end up having a full spread in Forbes, but that's just the idea of manifestation again that comes to mind, right? So you say, you know, different. I don't know. I wouldn't say that I'm, you know, better than or smarter than anyone else. I think it's just like I'm a fighter, I'm a grinder, you know. Winners are just losers that tried one more time, right? So it's like, oh wow, you're amazing, you've done all these things. Like, nah, I'm a massive failure. I just don't stay down.
But where does that come from? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because obviously there's something about you, man. I mean, you guys, he just launched. He's got a Mind, Body, Money reality show. You're sitting down with Ray Lewis's of the world, all these people. You own, feels like everything. You got so many different businesses. You're angel investor. You're in a private equity space. We just moved into the venture capitalist space. You represent so many people, bro. This is crazy. Where does this come from? Is it outside of your parents? I understand they are saying, you know, bro, you could be whatever you want. Like, go be, you know, be the best. Put your best foot forward. But there is a sense of grit. I work hard. I know I work hard. You work me under the bus.
You know, I think I've come up with some language to articulate it better, but I think one thing for me, as I've always been very perceptive, right? Like I have 4 children, 4 daughters, and you know, children teach us a lot about ourselves and a lot about life. And my baby girl, she'll be 2 actually later this month. And I look at her, she has like an old soul, right? Like, man, this girl has been here before. And I feel like, you know, depending on what your faith is or what you think, I feel like things have always kind of made sense to me, almost like I've been here before. And ever since I was a young man, and again, thinking about that milestone of graduating college, I just thought to myself, I don't want to look back at my life ever and say, what if? And I feel like I hear stories of older people all the time, like, well, I could have done this, but I didn't, or I didn't want to take that risk, or I should have gone this route. And I was like, that's not going to be me. Like I'm doing the damn thing. Now, I might fall flat on my face,
Sure.
but I would rather do it and fail and get back up and brush myself off and say, okay, I guess that wasn't for me, than let fear inhibit me, let fear stop me from pressing forward. So it's not like I'm superhuman or I go in things like without reservation. Like I have concerns like anybody else, but at the end of the day, I just believe so full-heartedly in myself. I believe so full-heartedly that things will work out, not because I'm just sitting here wishful thinking, because as you said, I'm going to work, right? Like it's like I'm basketball. I'm not a big guy, right? I played college basketball, right? You might beat me, you might, but it's gonna be a war, right? Like I'm filing and scratching and biting and clawing, and that's how I attack life the same way. Like, look, I might have a business that fails, sure, but I'm fighting, right? And so at the end of the day, I feel like it's that relentless nature that at the end of the day, like it's one of the reasons why I created Mind, Body, Money, because people see success, but we oftentimes don't see the journey and all the tribulations that people went through. People oftentimes think of success as this linear journey, like, oh, you started at point A and then got to point B, like when the reality of it is you're all over the place, right? And so someone might look at me today and go, wow, how lucky, like, like amazing how lucky you get, you know, when you work hard. And we were talking offline about even, look, I've got challenges today that would give most people a heart attack, right? But I sit here like, all right, I'll figure it out, you know? So that would be my encouragement to you or anyone listening is like, you know, think about what you want to do. Think about where you want to be. Great. Like I'm all for that abstract. And then reverse engineer to this concept that I call winning the day. Focusing on that desire, right, can oftentimes leave us paralyzed. It's big. 100%. Like I want to be a billionaire. What am I going to do that? Like, what the heck, right? Yeah. So I reverse engineer from, okay, what's that abstract thing you want to do, to backing that down to the day, right? What do I need to do today? So from the moment I wake up to the moment that I go to bed, I'm looking to win the day. I'm looking to crush the day. Richard A. Vogel said the most important time in life is not the past nor the future. It is the now. It is this precious present.
But how do I know what to do within that day to win it?
So for me, at least take my core business in financial advisory work, right, in planning. I have a particular revenue target that I want to make for the year, right? I take that number, that my annual revenue target, and I divide that by 200.
Okay.
Assuming that I'm going to work 200 days a year, right? So maybe take some vacation. The reality for me is I work more than 200 days, but let's just say for argument's sake, 200 days a year. Some vacation time, family, holiday, what have you, but you're going to put in 200 days a year. When you do that, you're going to come up with a daily number.
Mm-hmm.
And so essentially for me, I need to have meetings every single day that give me a chance to get to that number.
Sure. Okay.
So if I want to make $3 million and divided by 200, that's $15,000 a day.
Okay.
That is my focus. So for example, if I sat here and said, I want to make $3 million this year. Okay. Okay. Can I sell a life insurance policy that generates $15K of commission today? Yeah, I can do that. Can I sell an investment account that generates $15,000 of commission today? Yeah, I can do that. Can I take on a management client that generates a $15,000 revenue today? Yeah. I can do that. So all I do, Jamil, is I think about the day. Like, I don't think about, like we talk about working out and an athlete, right? I don't think about, I want to lose 10 pounds or I want to look like this. All I think about is when I'm in the gym for this hour, I'm going to crush this day.
Right.
When I'm making my food choices today, this is what I'm going to eat today. Because the reality of it is that success takes time to come to fruition, right?
Yeah.
Using that, losing weight idea, right? If I said, look, I'm going to get in the best shape of my life, I did that. I had a producer on my show was like, man, I got you a spread in Men's Health. He was like, how much time do you need, right? I was like, man, I stay ready, bro. But I'm like, but Men's Health, like, I gotta be ready.
You gotta come with it.
So I was like, give me 2 weeks. Because I was already in
2 weeks?
Yeah, because I was
Come on, man.
I was like, man, don't let me show you the spread, bro. I was already in like good shape, but I'm like Men's Health, like where everyone's like, man, what is that?
Critiquing
little pooch
every
there, like
little
you better,
oblique.
right? So I'm like, I gotta be like, so at 44 years old, I got into the best shape of my life, right? And it was intermittent fasting, caloric deficit, working out, to be frank, stuff that was not sustainable. Like I could do that forever. But I mean, I went from 175 to 158 in 2 weeks and just got shredded. But I'm saying that one is I our children teach us a lot of things. I tell my girls, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So because my baseline of fitness was already at a pretty high level, I turned up, right? But I didn't have to lose, 50 pounds, right? I just had to like tighten up. And so that's how I'm saying, like, I basically, Jamil, I stay ready.
Sure.
Right. So when an opportunity comes about, most people like Men's Health, like, man, give me 6 months, right? And then I'll be ready. But that's kind of how I live my life. Like, no, right? Amateurs do something until they get it right. Professionals do something until they cannot get it wrong.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I just stay ready. I stay sharp.
Well, take us back to the 23-year-old kid. And we're both in our 40s now, so we can call that mid-20s kids. I mentor all these 27, 28, 29-year-olds. And I'm like, bro, you guys have so much time. Like, you got so much time. What was the journey then? So how did you get started? Because we're talking about all of this stuff that you've done now in your mid-40s, but you didn't start out that way. Like, what was the opportunity you had? What were the steps that you took? And when you said, I'm going to be a millionaire, because, bro, we sat, I don't know if you remember, our first meeting was at a Sizzler's on Rosemead Boulevard.
All you can eat shrimp.
Yeah. And I was just excited. Bread. Somebody was going to buy me a salad. Like, let me have it all. So obviously the world that you live in now is completely different. Your experiences are completely different. Your bank account is completely different.
It's a lifetime ago, to be frank.
It's a lifetime ago.
So
how'd you get started? How can we, the people that's listening to this, they want to be where you're at.
Yeah.
Like, what are the steps that you took, and maybe we can find some pieces along that journey?
The first thing I would say is that if anybody who's, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, my junior is listening to this and is where I'm at, I would say that I've done them a disservice, right? Because the idea is I want people to be bigger and better than me.
For sure.
If I took this old man's brain and put it back in my 22, 23-year-old body, I get here in half the time, right? And so what did I learn? What would I do the same? What would I do different? I affectionately call it, you heard me reference it a little bit earlier, I do call it a sickness. No one great at anything is regular, right? Like sports, entertainment, business, you fill in the blank. They're all different. I call it the sickness, right? Like there's this insatiable desire to be great that you just can't quell. You have to have that. And in whatever it is, right? You don't have to be in the same field I'm in. I was in finance primarily, so I got my start, and I'll talk more about that. But like whatever it is, entertainment, sports, whatever.
Right.
You gotta be sick, right? First one there, last one to leave, right? Like it's required to 100% to be great. There's a massive difference between being rich and wealthy. And I did not understand that when I started my career, and I took a path that made me rich. And I realized in the midst of that journey, like, oops, the path that I'm on, the path that I chose made me rich, but I cannot get wealthy. And the difference is there's a grave difference between being self-employed and a business owner. And some people are watching this podcast right now, listening in, thinking they're a business owner. But anyone who would classify yourself as a business owner, here's my question for you. If you didn't go to work for 6 months, how much money would you make? And if you said, well, I wouldn't make any money, then you are not a business owner.
Right.
You are self-employed. And look, there's nothing wrong with being self-employed. But at the end of the day, a true business runs in spite of you, not because of you.
Okay.
So the thing that I didn't integrate into my business ventures as I started was scale. Everything is Sophie Taylor show, right? I show up, okay, right? We make money, I don't. And this started even on a micro level, meaning I have no clients, Jamil, I have no money. So what am I doing? I'm shaking hands, kissing babies, I'm on the phone.
Taking Jamil out
right,
to
and taking to buy.
Right.
I'm buying
salad.
all you can eat shrimp and Malibu chicken. Right, I'm here. And then what happens? I do a business.
Yeah.
Well, now there's paperwork that needs to be processed, files that need to be created, and I'm him, so I'm gonna do that. So what happens is I have no money, I have no business. I shake hands, kiss babies, right? Get appointments, do business. But now I'm playing the role as the processor. So while I'm processing this business and servicing this business, who's booking no appointments? Nobody. So what happens to my income the next month?
Because now you gotta process.
So now I have no business again. So what am I doing? I'm gonna shake hands, kiss babies, and see people. I'm closing deals. But then I'm going to process. So what happens to my income? So my income literally was like 5,000, 2,000, 30,000, 40,000, 6, 3.
Right.
20,000, 28,000, 6, 4. So at the end of the year, I'm being paraded around. I got eagles and trophies, and he's Sophie Taylor is da-da-da-da-da. He made $500,000. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm broke. Because every time I have a $30,000 a month, I'm catching up from the $4,000 a month.
Sure.
J. Paul Getty is the first recorded billionaire in United States history. He came up with the wealth building principle. Stated simply, I'd rather earn 1% effort from 100 people than 100% of my own.
Talk about that. What does that mean?
So now, think about this. What is your highest and best use? It's to shake hands, kiss babies, and close deals. That is my superpower. That is what I do. So if I make 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever you make every time you close a deal, why then? If I make $5,000 a deal, why am I doing $20 an hour work?
Sure.
So every non-income generating activity that makes me less money per hour than I make when I close a deal, I do not do.
So what I hear you talking about is leverage.
Leverage and scale. My wife is from the Midwest and grew up in, we own a yoga fitness studio. We have some issues with our basement, some leaking. We got to call a contractor there to fix it. And she was commenting to me this morning. She was like, man, it's so weird for me to have to call a contractor. When I was growing up, my uncle or my dad or my mom would just get in there and clean. And she kind of looking at me sideways like, nigga, well, you can't put some drywall up, whatever, right? And as I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, am I capable, Jamil, of doing some drywall? I am capable of doing some drywall.
Yes.
But then I look at it this way. First of all, if I do it, it probably won't be very good.
Exactly.
Right? But let's just even say that I can do a good job. How many hours does it take me to do that? And if I make $10,000 when I close it, I'm at a point in my career where domestically I charge $20,000 an hour to do a corporate talk.
Yes.
When I'm international, I charge $30,000 to $40,000 an hour to do an international talk. So if that's my speaking rate, why would I want to spend my time either not doing that and or trying to book more of those?
Sure.
Rather than doing $20, $50 an hour work.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm a firm believer of this concept of saving money is not the same as making money.
What does that mean?
If I did the drywall myself, I might save $1,000 by doing that project myself.
Sure.
But if it took me 3 days to complete that project, and I already told you what my daily rate is, 15 grand. So if my target in my business is 15 grand a day, 15,000 a day for 3 days is $45,000.
So it just
So if I
costs you.
spent 3 days to do that and I saved that $1,000 contracting fee, so here's my question. Do you want to save $1,000 or make $45,000?
I would rather make 45.
If I make $45,000, I have to pay someone $1,000, I'm netting 44.
Yes.
The math is mathing.
This is a complete. So when I hear you say this, it's a different mindset. You know, even from when I was 30, 32, I don't think I started to develop what you're talking about until I was probably 35, 36. How does someone start to develop this mindset? Because everything you're talking about first is the mindset that you have, the mindset you attack the days, the discipline that you have that comes from the mindset that you have. You're thinking about things not just differently, but oppositely. Like for me to be successful, I must do the things myself is a mindset that most people have. How did you along the journey start to shift that? Was it just the pain of having those months where you would have really big months and really little months and you're like, I don't like feeling this anyway. There must be a better way. Or how do we do that?
So a caterpillar and a butterfly go to lunch. And the caterpillar remarked to the butterfly, man, have you changed? And the butterfly said in response, yeah, we're supposed to. In this life, you're getting better or you're getting worse. There's no staying the same. So when you look at it, what happens oftentimes in life, we get comfortable.
Sure.
Right? If you take a frog and you put a frog in boiling hot water, you know what happened? That frog will hop right out.
Okay.
If you take that same frog and you put him in lukewarm water and turn up the heat, next thing you know, he's cooked.
Wow.
And so many of us, Jamil, are cooked because we get comfortable in the lukewarm water while the heat turns up around us, i.e. opportunities come around us, but we're comfortable, right? So next thing we know, we're cooked. Then that's the 50, the 60, the 70-year-old like, oh, man, I wish, right? I'm not doing that, right? And so I'm always looking to be uncomfortable. I'm always looking to be challenged. I'm always looking to grow, right? That's the important thing. The thing that's different, which I will say is, and this is coming from the son of a West African, like British boarding school son, is my dad was always like, work hard, work hard, work hard.
Sure.
And that is what I knew, right? I started my career at big company, New York Life. I started at 22. By 27, I was the #1 broker in LA, 27 years old. At 32, I'm top 25 in the entire country. Before I left to open my own independent firm, I was a top African-American advisor ever. Like no one had written more business than me ever at 33 years old. But that shouldn't be celebrated, but there was a lesson from that. And here's what I mean by that. Because I busted my tail. A young man and an old man are in the forest, and they got to chop down a tree for time. Go. Young man is sawing away. Old man is sawing away. Several minutes pass, and the old man sits down. Young man gets a little grin on his face, like, yeah, I got him. Old man tired. Doesn't have what it takes. A few minutes pass, old man resumes. About another 20, 30 minutes pass, old man sits down again. Young man's grin gets really big, like, oh, I knew it. He does not have what it takes. A few minutes pass, old man resumes. Next thing you know, the old man's tree, boom, falls down. The young man is flabbergasted, taken back, like, what?
Yeah.
So he walks over to the old man and said, how did you do that? I mean, I'm over here sawing away tirelessly. And every time I look over you, you're sitting down. And he said, I wasn't sitting down, son. I was sharpening my saw.
Come on now. I was sharpening my axe. Let's go.
And so the
getting
mistake that I made as a young man, if I had to go back, as I made it all about grinding and scratching and clawing and what do you mean vacation? What do you mean spend time with my family? What do you mean take time off? What do you mean sleep? Right? Sleep is for the weak.
Right.
Right? Like we get this work.
Yeah.
And what I found later, it's okay to take a break. Just don't quit.
And sharpen your axe.
Right? And if that break is allowing you to sharpen your axe, sharpen that saw, like, okay. So it's not a matter of how hard, like I have had days in my business. I've made more money in a day in this business than I probably made in my first 10 years put together.
Give us an idea. How much?
My biggest month to date in this business is over $1.3 million in a month.
In a month.
Right?
Crazy.
I'm working on beating that right now.
Yeah.
People say, what's the biggest deal you've ever done? My response is, I haven't done it yet.
It's coming.
I haven't done it yet. I don't know.
It's coming. Yeah.
Right? It's going to keep changing. Because again, I'm not going to rest on my laurels. Right? And the one thing that I'll say, and I believe this with every fiber of my heart, it is way easier to make $1 million than it is to make 50,000.
Whoa, wait a minute. What? Like,
way easier.
bro, we don't even understand that. What does that mean?
It's human nature to think like, okay, I'm going to deal in smaller markets, right? Like talking about which business I know very well in my business, but this could be any industry.
Right.
Meaning thinking about it, if I'm like, I'm going to sell this person a plan that costs $200, right? $200. I'm feel real comfortable asking for that. I'm going to ask $200. But think about this. If you're my client and you make $4,000 a month, and you have $3,500 a month of expenses. Your discretionary income is $500. And I say, Jamil, give me $200 for a plan for your family.
Sure.
I'm asking you to give me 40% of your discretionary income. You better be good. You better answer every question, every objection, and be ready for that plan to blow up in the first 6 months. Because the first time the water heater bust, kidneys, braces, like electric bill's too high, that plan got to go. I sit down with somebody who makes $50,000 a month. They've got $20,000 a month of expenses, $30,000 a month of discretionary income. I'll sell them a plan for $5,000 a month over lunch.
Easy. Don't even blink.
And what I found is it's easier to make $250 than $500, or $250 rather than $50. Easier to make $500 than $250. Easier to make $1 million than $500. Got to be easier to make 10 million than $1 million.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just going to go ahead and be a billionaire, because the progression is the mistake is we make, but like, wow, do you know how hard you'll have to work? No, it's not about working harder. It's about working smarter with something that has leverage.
Yes.
As we sit here today, we're using these beautiful microphones, right? The person who owns this company, who makes these microphones,
Right.
Are they good looking? Are they charismatic? Are they well spoken?
We don't know.
And it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So when your income is predicated on your what I call human capital, your ability to get up and toil, you will always have a limit. I was at a networking function once, and one of the attorneys said something to me. I didn't want to belittle him, but he said, I said, what do you do? He said, I'm a lawyer. He said, but I'm a glorified janitor. I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, I get paid per hour. So what he was referencing is, he's like, and he's actually a well-known attorney, but he was like, I get paid per hour. So I can only make so much, and I can only go so far because I can only bill so many hours.
Right.
And even if you go, no, but not me, Sophie, my rate is super high, or no, not me, I won't sleep either. Okay.
You're still 24 hours in a day.
Versus as I'm sitting here talking to you, someone in the world right now is watching my TV show, Mind, Body, Money. Someone in the world right now is listening to one of my videos. Someone in the world right now, someone is at my gym right now taking class at my studio right now.
Let's go.
Right?
Yes, sir.
And that is the difference. Like, scale, leverage, right? And especially it's like you have to let go of the ego. Let go, especially for me. Like I was like, I'll show you. I want to be like, today, man, call me any title you want. I need to be on front, cool. I need to be in the back, cool. We getting paid? Money's coming? Then you tell me where I need to be.
Let me tap into a couple things because there's so much that I want to unpack. I think the first thing is you just needed an opportunity. You started in a financial services firm at the bottom. You just needed an opportunity. You didn't start and they paid you $200,000 a year.
Yeah, my salary was zero.
You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't start and they gave you a signing bonus. I don't even know if like what do you benefits and stuff. I don't know.
You know the interesting thing about that, Jamil, you ask me like, man, even going back to a kid, like I just was always, I mean, I used to bring the Wall Street Journal to school and wear a Harvard cap, right? Like I didn't go to Harvard, but that's kind of like, I don't know. That's how I thought, right on the heels of writing into Forbes and saying like, I'm gonna be in your magazine. I got involved in some network marketing company. It was back in the day called ACN.
Okay. Yeah.
It was like telecommunication. And this is before I grew up here in Pasadena and I was going back to school in Oregon. I'm like, well, man, I'm just getting connected with this opportunity, but I got to go back to school. They're like, man, take it to Oregon. You could be our help up there. I'm like, that sounds good. Bro, I don't know anything about telecommunications. I don't know anything about business, but they're like, can you get people to switch over their phone service? And I'm like, all right, I could do that. So I go to the dean of students of my university and I say, can I use the auditorium? He's like, for what? I'm like, I want to do a presentation for all the people on campus. So he was like, all right, these are your windows of doing it. It just happened to be the window of doing it was right after basketball practice. So I'm at practice, leave practice, run back to my apartment, put on a suit and tie. I'm 21. And I invite maybe 40 kids from campus came to this auditorium. Even as I think about like, why did they even come? I don't know, but they came to like hear me. And I gave this idea about leverage and working together and scale, and 40 people were in there and 40 people signed over their telecommunications to me. And that's probably the first time I looked at like, I have power. I have power to galvanize people. And not only that, I have power to get people to act. Right? And so fast forward into starting in my career in a financial firm and then progressing to opening, now I own over a dozen companies. Growing that is like, it's just kind of there. The challenging part for me now is sustaining the losses, sustaining the hits, and waiting for that. And I guess making it big is also all relative because a lot of people look at me today and like, wow, you already made it big. But I look at me today and like, it's okay. Like, I think there's another measure. And not that your value as a person is tied to money, because money is just a tool, doesn't change who you are. Money highlights who you are. But again, as an athlete, the billionaire status for me is just like a scorecard. It's like scoring 40 points in a game.
Yeah.
And so that's that progression for me. So the challenge, as you say, is balancing taking risk, balancing wanting more with also having reverence and appreciation for where you are now and the people that are in your life now and the blessings that you have in your life now, and understanding the quality of a man, the quality of a woman, the depth of the relationship is more important than having your name in lights. And there, I've shared recently, there's these 3 types of relationships that you have with people. There are leaves, there are branches, and there are roots. And the leaves are just there for the good time, right? For the first time the winds come, storm comes, what happens to the leaves? Gone. Branches, right, can sustain a little bit more, right? I mean, the wind can rustle them around a little bit. But if you lean on a branch too hard, what happens? Snap, will break off. Right? with the roots. The roots are deep, grounded. The winds come, the storm comes.
No big deal.
I'm going anywhere. And those are the type of relationships that I want. Those are the type of people that I want to do business with. That is who I want to be for others. And so for me, yes, I want to make a lot of money. I want to freaking leave an indelible mark in this earth, but I want to do it the right way, and I want to do it with the right people. And that is, again, a lesson that I've had. Someone sent me a message the other day to give me some encouragement that, right, that your progress creates jealousy. Your accomplishments infuriate people, right? Because people, I call it the A's. They either lack the attitude or the aptitude required to be great. They lack the attitude or the aptitude required to be great. So if people don't hate you, then you're probably not doing much stuff in your life.
I think we see that with some of the, no matter what the industry is, I think you have the people that are really going to love you, people that are just kind of neutral, and then the people that just, they're just going to be
But the thing is, and
adversaries.
that's the hard part, you're like, you listen to my journey. No one here would be like, to your point, I didn't get a trust fund. It wasn't like, here, kid, here's 30 million, go start your business. It wasn't like XYZ firm was like, you're a promising young college graduate. Here's $500,000.
Right.
Go. Like, no, I started at 22. I bought my first house at 23, right? I filed bankruptcy at 28, losing everything in 2008, right? Made another million again. Had it stolen from me, I had to make it back again. So I've had these ebbs and flows. So now when I'm sitting in a spot and people are like, man, he's lucky, man, let me just grab that from him. Like, nah, it wasn't given to me.
Right.
It wasn't, I had to freaking fight for it, you know? And so I'm looking for people now that are like, okay, is there mutual respect and reverence for one another?
Sure.
And we're at the same page. Okay, then now let's go.
So how do you deal with those losses then? Because for most people, for what I see is taking risks is difficult for a lot of people due to fear. And part of the fear is the fear of disappointment. It sounds like in your journey that you've had just a few disappointments. How do you deal with disappointment, discouragement, loss, pain, setbacks?
Parable of the Chinese farmer. Simple guy, modest guy, small farm, one horse, one son. One evening, his horse breaks out of the stable, runs away. So everyone from the village goes to his farm like, man, that's so bad. You lost your only horse. He said, maybe not. The next day, his horse returns with 2 wild horses. So now he's got 3 horses. So everyone from the village comes back to him. That's great. You got 3 horses. He says, maybe not. His son is in the back stable breaking in one of the wild horses. The horse bucks his son off. Boom, falls, breaks his back. Everyone from the village comes, oh, your only son broke his back. That's so horrible. To which he responds, maybe, maybe not. A war breaks out on the countryside. Village is in turmoil. Army comes to his farm. We are drafting every able-bodied young man. Every able-bodied young man has to go to war right now. But because his son had broken his back, he could not go to war. So again, everyone from the village goes to his farm and says, that's amazing. Your son doesn't have to go to war. To which he responds, maybe not. All storms that come in our lives, right,
Perception.
don't have to destroy us. Yeah. Sometimes storms don't come to destroy us. Sometimes they come to clear our paths, right? Does a rose bush have thorns?
I believe so.
Or does a thorn bush have roses?
In the matter of how you see it, I suppose.
Perspective. Perspective is not the truth. It's what you see. If you do not like what you see, then change it. And if you can't change it, then change the way you think about it. So yes, you might shoot that shot in the game and you might miss, or you might make it, but you will miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So for me, and my encouragement to others, yes, take calculated risk and be prepared, be ready. But swing away, right? You're familiar with Theodore Roosevelt, you know, the man in the arena. I share that. Love that quote. It is not the critic that counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause? With the best in the end knows the triumph of high achievement, and at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls that neither know victory or defeat. Right? If people doubt how far you can go, then go so far you can't hear them anymore.
Come on.
Like, we're here, right? So it's like, yes, you could miss, but you couldn't make it. And oftentimes I believe, right? Like, you know, like,
I'm laughing, bro, because this is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is what it is. But I think about myself at 33, bro. What you're saying right now, it's so true, but I would not have been able to hear it.
But let me give you your flowers. I met this young man, and I have all these delusions of grandeur my entire life. And to him at that point, these were all like pipe dream. Like, you looking at me probably like, man, this is wacko. Let me get my all you can eat shrimp and get out of this place, man. What is this dude talking about? But I've also watched you evolve. Because here's the thing, right? These realizations come to us at different times in our lives when we are ready.
Yeah. When the student is ready.
Right? And so maybe I got it young. Maybe someone else got it younger than me. Maybe someone else gets older than me. I'm not better than anyone else. I'm not worse than anyone else. This is just my journey.
Yeah.
But for me, and my encouragement to everyone else would be, if you're going to live your life and in despair, or live your life and go, well, you know, I don't like this situation, or I wish this could be better, and do nothing about it, then like, who are you mad at? Like, my oldest daughter is now 18 years old.
It's crazy, bro.
And she wanted to take over her social media. She was like, Dad, it's time. like it's time, because I had social media before, but I monitored it.
Right.
Like, it's time. And I was like, okay, I need you to do these things. So I gave her some directives. Did she do it? No. So she comes back, she mad at me. Dad. And I said, Naya, I asked you to do these things, and you did not do it. And now you're mad at me. I told her, you cannot be upset from the results you didn't get, from the work you didn't do.
What'd she say?
Yeah. So now we look at these things. That's what I love. I mean, this journey, first of all, being a parent in general, what a blessing to have healthy kids. Thank you, man.
You have what, 4 girls?
But 4 girls. My running joke is I used to pray to God that he sent girls to hang all over me, and he took me literally and was like, here you go.
Right.
It's for me. He's listening, right? But it's these lessons that, you know, as again, I'm 47 years old now, right? And I feel like I am as sure about, rather, I am as unsure about life, or as unsure about the way things should go at this point at 47 than I've ever been. At 22, it's gonna look exactly like this, and then this will happen, and then this will happen. And like life, God, universe, call it whatever you want, had a completely different plan, but I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
I thought I was ready. And to be frank, I thought I earned it, right? But if you said, what's the difference? And like, the difference is, ladies and gentlemen, it is discipline over motivation.
Talk about that.
People will listen to you or follow you wanting you to motivate them. Jamil, motivate me. Get me out of my rut.
Yes.
And they're going to listen to you, man, or maybe they tune into this, they watch this series, right? And they look at me and they go, man, that's a handsome dude.
Right. Facts.
well spoken, like I'm motivated. Like, what are we doing? But tomorrow, next week, a month from now, I will fade out of their memory.
Yes.
And the motivation and having them fired up will dissipate.
Yes, it will.
So it is discipline over motivation. It is doing the things required of you when you do not feel like doing it, when you do not want to do it. I'm dealing with this. My one of my middle daughters are twins, and I had to start a marriage. So my ex-wife, right, wants to take the girls away for summer vacation. And we got into it last summer because I'm like, these girls are trying to be collegiate athletes. And, 3-4 week vacations, like this is what we work. Summer, that's when you get work. And mom's giving her a little guilt trip, like, oh, so you don't want to spend time with the family. But it's like, man, I got to sacrifice. So my daughter, at the time they were little, maybe 10. My oldest, my twins were 8. Saturday morning, Daddy, can we ride our bikes to breakfast? I'm like, let's get it, right? So we get on the bikes, boom, we're on our way. About a block in, 2 blocks in, what the girls didn't realize is the ride to breakfast was uphill the whole way. So about 4 or 5 blocks in, like, Daddy, my legs hurt. I'm like, it's all right, keep going. About halfway there, and I start sweating. Dad, can we take a break? I said, no, keep pushing. About 3/4 of the way, and I'm panting, sweating heavy, like, Dad, please, can we stop? I said, you cannot stop. About maybe a few blocks away, now they're crying. Please, Daddy, can we get off the bike? No, you must finish. We could literally see the restaurant. They're like, now it's in. I'm like, okay, we're close. Now finish. So we cross the street. They're panting, they're sweating, they're crying. I sit them down on the bench, right? Before we go in, I said, I love this moment. I love this. It's like life. When you started on this journey, it sounded like a good idea, right?
Yes, come on.
But it ended up being a hell of a lot more work than you thought it was going to be. But you didn't quit. You didn't stop. And we made it. Now we get to eat pancakes.
Now we get to eat.
And there's one more thing. The ride home is downhill. So the message there, and I make them say this to me every day, and I say it in my yoga classes, and I say it in everything I do, is we do the hard stuff first.
Get it out the way.
We do the hard stuff first. And the challenge is everybody wants the social media followers and 1 million followers. I want the $1 million house. I want the Bentley. I want this. I want the Rolex. But they're unwilling. They lack the A's, the attitude or the aptitude required. And so when you can say, I'm going to put on my big boy pants and my work hat and get after it, that's what separates. Because I don't care what industry. Oh, but you're in finance. So I don't care the industry.
It doesn't matter. Just give me an opportunity.
You show me somebody great, I'll show you somebody who is sleeping on somebody's couch, right? I told you that FedEx story, right?
Yes.
Dude gambled the payroll money. We talking about Elon Musk literally going all in on his accounts after selling his companies for $180 million. He had to borrow money from his friends to pay rent because that's how dedicated he was to the next level.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether you like these people or not. It doesn't matter whether these are your industries or not. Again, how you do some things is how you do everything.
Right.
That is what is required to be great. And listen, there's nothing wrong with being self-employed. There's nothing wrong with being an employee. There's nothing wrong with saying, you know what? I want to check on the 1st and the 15th and 2 weeks paid vacation and a 401k that matches at 3%. There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing at all. But when you sit here, if that person who is in that position looks at me and says, hey, Sylvie, what you do is risky, my response to them would go, no, just like there's nothing wrong with what you do, there's nothing wrong with what I do, but I'll tell you what's risky. Your job is risky because your utility and your pay is predicated on what someone else's perception of you is. Yes. That is risky.
Yes.
My income is tied directly to my effort. My income is tied directly to what I build. So if my daughter has a play at her school at 3:00, who do I have to ask if I can go?
You know, your income, I've seen a lot of you. recently, a lot closer, before just from a distance. Your creativity is off the chart. And what I've noticed about you is your income is tied to your creativity. You just think of stuff. Even with the Mind, Body, Money, because you called me. And you're like, hey, I'm doing an app. And I was like, what the hell are you, what? And I was like, what? What? And you're like, yeah, why don't you come over and record something on my app? And I was like, it's a for real app? And you was like, yeah. You sent me the link and I went on there. I was like, like, bro created an app? What? I had no idea what you were doing. And I was like, who does this? And you just think of stuff. And now we could go to Amazon, we could go to Hulu, we could go to all of these places and get, like, you just, how? You just think of stuff.
And you know what it is, I'd say? I think at this point I do have an appreciation. Like I'll give you a thing, but the app or whatever, my show. I have a nonprofit I found, Future Stars. Right? I do the basketball camp for kids every summer. And that started out, and I'm like, man, okay, like I'll give my time, but man, I'm paying for the gym, and I'm paying for the t-shirts and trophies. Like, can I get a little help? So I started doing a golf tournament.
Yes.
And we started out with like a dozen of my friends.
Yeah, this is great.
Turned into now 18 years perennial golf tournament. But I'm like, that's cool. Camp's cool. Golf tournament I'm selling now, that's cool. But golf is primarily men. And I'm like, I'm not involving everybody in this mission.
Right.
So I'm like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do a gala. Right? Like I'm gonna include a gala, bring your wife, bring your girlfriend, bring your husband, your wife, whatever, like everybody. And I'm sitting there, I did it 5 years, so I'm sitting there at the third one. And I've got People Magazine there, Getty Images, TMZ, Jordan Sparks performing, Black China, Romeo Miller, 400 people. I'm in a crushed velvet orange tuxedo with the black lapel. And I'm sitting around looking at all this stuff, and I'm like, I just made this up. Right? Like one day I was like, I think I'm gonna do do a gala. Yes. And then I just did it. But that is the first thing. Belief. The road to walk a mile begins with a single step. Yeah. So first, what's your idea? And then it's not like I just sat back and like all of it just happened. No, I made it happen. So there's 2 steps to success, quite simply. Number 1, belief, thought. Those that think they can do something and those that think they cannot do something are both usually right. So belief. Second, then you got to do the work.
Got to do the work.
Right? And so then pulling it together. But there's, we talked offline about this concept of social equity. And because I've been in business now for a long time and helped a lot of people, the key to success in business for me is having a servant's heart. And I think the stalemate that many of you will have is that you're thinking about yourself, you're thinking about what you want, you're thinking about what you need. Even if you work in a noble profession and you're actually excellent at what you do, when you lead with, hey, buy this for me, or hey, you should use my service, or hey, you should do this, it's about you. And when you lead with a servant's heart, man, tell me about your business. How can I help you? Who can I introduce you to? How can I just got tickets to the Laker game. You know what? You take them. Yeah. It's all of these things that I do on a daily basis so that when the gala comes up and I'm like, man, I got to get 400 people there. I've amassed 15,000 warm contacts in my phone. 15,000 warm contacts, right? I do business with all types of companies all over the world. Man, this gala can be expensive. I need some sponsors. Who have I made a lot of money for? Come back and so I look at it where I've helped people, I've encouraged people, I've given from people, I've patronized businesses, wanting or expecting nothing in return.
Yes.
But building social equity.
So you're investing. You're putting time and equity in, and when you need to make a withdrawal, then all of that you've invested, now you get to
withdraw. And to be frank, Jamil, more times than not, I'm withdrawing that equity for someone else rather than myself. Yeah. But that's almost like, if you talked about a traditional investment account, it's almost like reinvesting to get an even bigger return later, right? So if you had $1,000 that you made in an account and you take that 1,000 out, maybe you made $200 and you got 1,200. That's awesome. But if you put that 1,200 back in and get 2,000 and so forth, and that's essentially what I've done. I haven't built equity and be like, I'm cashing this all in. I've made it.
Right.
I'm doubling down.
Right.
Right. Like, okay, yes, I could get this, but I'm gonna get this, and now the impact of what I'm able to do is even greater. Right. So now, when I want that, that big time attorney to work with me and do business with me, I'm able to send that person a professional athlete or entertainer or a multi-million-dollar deal, right? And really solidify the relationship. Because if I don't close a deal, at least in my business, right? If you're in somewhat of a commodity, it might be different for you. Then it's just scale and visibility in your story. But if you're in any kind of personal lines business, it's your relationship that makes it.
For sure. That's the capital.
Right? Like, so if I don't close a deal, if you go, man, these Sylphy people don't buy from me or people don't refer me, am I doing something wrong or my product? Do I need a new? No, your relationship is weak.
Yeah.
Right?
How do I fix that? How do I become a great people person and be a master at building relationships?
Assumptions are the root of all disappointment. So what happens? It's human nature to operate in a void or operate with ideals rather that are your own, right? Meaning, what makes sense to you, what's fair to you, what's reasonable to you, is what you think everyone else should
right,
and everyone else should think, right? And so it's a novel idea, but I'll share it nonetheless. If you ask people what they want, they'll tell you, and then when you give it to them, they'll buy.
They like
strengthen the relationship. Like, so rather than be like, how can I get through to Jamil? You know what? I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. How I could say, Jamil, I want to strengthen a relationship with you. What are the things that I could do for you or with you to help you grow your business? And then you'll tell me, well, I'm looking for ... I know these people, or maybe some of those things I could do directly, maybe some of those things I got to outsource, but I'm going to help you, right? When you do those things, what happens to the nature of your relationship? Versus think about this, if every single time I called you, I wanted something from you, what would you do?
I'm gonna repel you.
You would stop answering my call.
Yeah.
When my little brother calls me, I know he wants something. He ain't call me, ask me how my day's going. And that is a harsh reality that I had to learn early part of my career. Like, man, why these people ghosted me? Why? And I realized, because I'm always asking them for something. I'm asking them for the meeting. I'm asking them if they've reviewed the proposal. I'm asking them to send it back. I'm asking them for payment.
Instead of serving them,
right?
serving them.
If every time I called you, I'm like, Jamil, you and the wife in town? Dinner on me at my restaurant. Go, 7:00 reservations. Man, your son, he likes basketball, right? My client plays for the Clippers. I got you floor seats and backstage passes. Go ahead, enjoy yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, and we talked about this earlier. It also doesn't have to be these big, grandiose gifts. It could be, hey, I saw you had a baby. I'm sending you a little box of chocolates and a $5, teddy bear.
Yeah.
It's just the thought, because what happens is most people operate in a hedonistic, selfish manner.
Yes.
So when you honor your word and you lead with a servant's heart, you will find yourself in the category of one.
One of one. Gosh, what is it about money that we don't know that we should know?
I think a lot of it is, what is our attachment to money? And this comes back to our psychology. But it's important to understand what your attachment to money is. And oftentimes, I see people on polar opposites more so than a healthy balance. And even me, I tend to be on the opposite side. I'm a gunslinger. So it's funny. If I'm advising a client, I'm typically more conservative. But for myself, I'm like, 1% chance this will work. Like, so you're saying there's a chance.
Like, let's go. Let's see what happens, baby. Let's roll.
But what I mean by that is, example, I had a client, Miss Jackson, I'll call her, lovely old lady, multimillionaire, right? But she was in her 80s Depression era kid, right? And so one afternoon we had a meeting in my office, and at the time I was in an office building with underground parking. It was a rainy day. When she comes into my office. She's soaked, right? And I'm like, Miss Jackson, why are you all wet, right? Like, she was like, well, it's raining outside. And I'm like, I know, but we have an underground parking lot. Why are you all wet? She said, my car has a hole in the roof. So when I was driving here, rain was coming down on me the whole time. And I said, you have a hole in the roof of your car? She was like, yeah. I said, why don't you get a new car? And she was like, no, I can't afford a new car. Mind you, Jamil, I probably made her like $100,000 in interest that last year, right? And I'm like, you can get a car.
Like, I'm managing your money.
Like,
I see what you have.
Yeah, like you can get a car, right? You can get a car. So that's one end of the spectrum. The other end of the spectrum is I make $1 million, I spend $1.4 million.
Yes.
I make 10 million, I spend 12.
Right.
I'm on that end of the spectrum, and not like spending for the sake of spending, but just the pursuit for more, the pursuit to like, hey, there's some people that measure twice and cut once, and there's people that just kind of eyeball it, and I tend to be like, let's go, right? And it's like I could have $200,000 in my account. If you're like, hey, new company, $250, I'm like,
how can I get the other 50?
yeah. There's no part of me that's like, well, I'm like, and so I would say there's a particular level of temperance and balance needed. Like, and I deal with this. I have a company, Taylor Method, right? So I travel all around the world. I speak, and my partner in that firm is the complete opposite of me, right? Just very measured, calculated. Like, let's do this project, but let's run ads and test first. And I'm like, and I'm different. I come back from a talk. He's like, how was the talk? I'm like, it was fantastic. He's like, what happened? I'm like, I sold 500 subscriptions. And he was like, to what? I'm like, this product. He's like, we don't have that product. I'm like,
we do now.
We do now. I'm like, let's make it. We'll figure it out.
We do now.
And so
yes.
But
that's the imagination, though. Yeah.
You need to surround yourself, and this is another, I guess I'd go back if you're like, what would I do different? You need to surround yourself with people that are not like you, that have different strengths than you have.
Yes,
if everyone was like me, then it would be chaos.
It'd be crazy.
You need people around you that are measured. You need people around, or the other side. If you're the measured, calculated one, then you need somebody who's gonna be loud and boisterous and puff their chest out and go. So it's not a frailty or a good or bad. It's just knowing and being honest. Like, who am I?
Who am I? Yeah.
What is my, again, the guy, call your highest and best use. Sure. And then let me surround myself with other people. Using a basketball analogy, right? Like, everybody can't score 40 points a game, right? So it's like, okay, I got my point guard. He's going to distribute the ball. Got my shooting guard. Maybe that's my best player, or my big guy. Maybe all he does is rebound and play defense, but everyone has their role. So you want to find a team, like, start with the abstract. Where do I want to be? The big vision board. And then back down into that and say, where do I fit in this? Am I the person who scores 30 points a game?
Sure.
Am I the person who sets picks and gets rebound? And at the end of the day, if we get the championship, it really doesn't matter what your role is. You contributed to the bottom line.
Right.
And this is one thing I'll say, Jamil, and this is gonna I don't say rub people the wrong way, but think about it. I believe the most talented people have the hardest time creating scalable businesses.
Is it because they feel like they have to do it themselves?
Because they're so good.
Yeah.
They're so good. They're so good. I'm the best photographer. I'm the best artist. I'm the best speaker. I'm the best planner.
I'm the best doctor.
I'm the best doctor. So people want you, and you can do well. There's a book written by a gentleman named Gay Hendricks called The Big Leap. And he talks about these 3 zones. And he talks about the zone of competency, where you're getting by, probably like the Starbucks barista that's just like, probably not their life mission, but they're making a living and doing their job. You've got this zone of excellence. And many of us get stuck here. That's probably where I was when I was at New York Life, when I started in the first firm. You're 30 years old making $1 million a year for one of the biggest. I mean, you're pretty good, my guy. Like, you made it.
Yeah.
But you feel like something's missing. And this third zone is a zone of genius. And in the zone of genius, it's not about just making more money, but you're really utilizing your gifts and talents and strengths. And that's where I strive to be, and where I feel like I'm at the precipice of right now. But again, many of us get stuck in that zone of excellence. But this goes to a lot of people, right? That like are in a particular position in their life where you might look on the exterior and be like, wow, they made it, but you're like, why are they unhappy or unsettled or they want more? It's because they realize they're not in that zone of excellence, or a zone of genius, rather. They're stuck in that zone of excellence, right? And so when there's a particular narrative that's been set for you, or maybe even one you set for yourself, who's the guy's name? There's a guy who's famous in the 70s and 80s that was a painter, with the Afro white dude. Forget the gentleman's name. Anybody listening, if you go there, I'm old, so maybe I forget the guy's name, but he mustache, old guy, and he was just known for having this like soft, melodic voice, and he would literally walk people through paintings. People watch this guy ended up being super famous. I was watching this thing on him the other day, and the guy was actually a military drill sergeant.
Wow.
And was yelling at people and screaming at people and berating people, and he had to give him, and he really didn't like it. He hated the way that it made him feel, but he was good at it, right? He was good at it, and he got the results, and he got the soldiers ready for battle. But he was like, not. And so after 20 years in that field, he was like, tap out, I'm enough. And then he goes to essentially being the Mr. Rogers of painting, right? Like my daughter, little watches Miss Rachel, right, or whatever. So he's the Miss Rachel, whatever, of painting. Right. Just a very soft-spoken, melodic, like guy, and becomes famous for this painting.
180.
It is never too late to be what you could have been. Right? It's never too late to be what you could have been. So even if you're 21 right now and you're watching this and you're like, okay, my life's just getting started, this is great insights. But I don't care if you're 51 and you're like, man, I've been in the corporate rat race all this time. Like I can't. Why? Why can't you change?
So we just need an opportunity. We start making money. Hopefully we start scaling that money. What would you recommend, or in your journey, what do you start doing with the money so that the money can make more?
I look at there's different buckets, right? So if someone said, okay, I've got this money, so what do I do? Do I save some? Do I invest in the stock market? Do I do this insurance stuff? Do I do real estate? Maybe some private equity? Like, what should I do?
Yeah. We should definitely do something, though.
Listen, here's the answer. Yes. Right? Like, and the reality of it is,
so go into that. What does that mean? Yes.
There is no perfect product. I can make any plan sound good, and I can poke holes through the same offering. So I say I don't believe in perfect products. I believe in perfect planning through balance and diversification. So you've got this bucket you call your emergency fund. Yes. Should be maybe 3 to 6 months, typically not to exceed 12 months of expenses. That's okay to have in your bank. Sure. Right? But I'm not making a lot of return. Yeah, but if an emergency or opportunity comes about, you need to be able to get that money. You've got your next layer, so call that 0 to 12 months. Sure. You've got your next layer, call it your moderate, 1 to 10 years. This could be your brokerage account. So maybe some stocks, maybe some mutual funds there that you're trying to beat inflation, right? I don't want to get 2%, 3%. I want to get 8, 10, 12% if I can on my money, right? But you have liquidity, meaning I could sell those positions whenever I want and get my money out. But if you go, well, if you can sell whenever you want, why the 1 to 10 years? Is because markets run in cycles. And if I invest in equities with a short time horizon, if there's a correction and I haven't given myself the time to come back, I could lose money. There's an adage in the investment world that past performance is not a guarantee of future results. So because something has happened before doesn't mean that it will happen again. But what history shows us is that anytime the market's been trading at a high and sold off, it has recouped those losses and hit a new high 100% of the time. 100%. The golden question is when? Will it be in 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years? That's what we don't know. But that's that bucket. Then you've got your more longer term bucket, 10-year plus. That's where I put the insurance bucket. When we think about insurance in general, we think of like, I want biggest benefits I can get for the least premium, because if I don't use it, I'm not going to lose it. Permanent life insurance, cash value life insurance, I sell a lot as an asset class because it allows you to grow money tax deferred and pull money out tax free. So I call it the rich man's Roth IRA. Because like a Roth IRA, tax deferred growth, tax withdrawals, but I have no contribution limits, I have no income limitations, and I have no pre-59.5 penalty. So you mentioned the illustrious Taylor Towers here, right?
Yes.
My office building.
Beautiful.
The down payment for this building came from my cash value life
Talk
insurance
about it.
policy. At 38 years old, I pulled $250,000 of cash value out of my policy to buy this, and at the time, dump. $1.4 million dump in Pasadena. But I saw the vision. When I brought my team in here and they're like, this would be our new office, they were like, seriously? And I was
bro,
they were like, we're in the high rise. I'm like, nah, but look, I'll show you one day.
Yeah.
But, $700,000 SBA financing later, right? Beautiful building, gutted this place, and now it's worth close to $4 million. Refinance the building, take my $250 out, put it back in my policy, keep it moving. So permanent life insurance is an investment that's going to pay 100%. You're either going to take out tax-free money one day or die.
Yes.
For sure.
For sure.
Right? So that's using life insurance as an asset class. And you've got your longer term stuff, your 401ks, your IRAs, your pension plans. Those are all kind of maybe the traditional, buckets, right? And then you've got, real estate. Also, you get appreciation, you get depreciation, tremendous asset class. And then the stuff we're talking about more recently, private equity, right? Like, how can I turn 200 grand into 10 million?
Yeah,
I'll do that, right?
Exactly. So that's the big money, and that was one of the things that I was asking you, like, what is it about money that we don't know? Some of the things that I just got from what you said that I just kind of pulled out is one, you don't seem to be afraid of it, and I feel like most people are. Like even when I think back 10 years ago, if you I would have been afraid of losing $10,000. I would have been afraid of losing 20. I would have been afraid of everything, right? But you don't seem to have that.
Because it comes down to your attachment. So you have more likely at that time, at least you had a scarcity mentality of if I lose this 10,000, I don't know if I'll get it back.
Right.
And it's not that I want to lose 10,000, but if I do, I know I can get it back.
Right.
Right? God willing, as long as I have my health, like I can get it back. But even that, I'm a planner. I've protected against it because people, well, even if I didn't have my health, if I got sick, I have disability insurance, I'll get it back. If I died, I have life insurance, my family will get it back.
Right.
So I'm either going to work and earn it back myself. I'm going to get sick, in which case my insurance will pay it back to me. Or I'm going to die, in which case insurance will give it back to my family.
Sure.
So I'm thinking about, so I'm not just like, when I say gunslinger, I'm not just like, aimlessly wandering, but there is a method to the madness. And a lot of it is rooted in a belief and an abundance mentality. And also knowing, again, going back to that quote I shared earlier, saving money isn't the same as making money, right? Do you want to save 10,000 or make 50?
I want to make 50, bro.
So then it requires you to put out the 10,000. We do hard stuff first.
Well, that's why. So you have this logo behind you, which is a lion. Why do you have a lion as your logo?
Lion's the king of the jungle.
This is what you're talking about, the mentality.
Right?
We got to do hard stuff.
My father is from Ghana again, West Africa. I'm a royal family. So you might not even know. I don't know if I've ever shared this with you. So my given name, true full name, is Nana Isilfi. Nana is a Ghanaian name, is chief, right? So we're a royal family, Isilfi, son of God. Nana Isilfi is my name, right? So when I walk into a room and you feel that glow, it's not just a thing. Like it's real, comes from real lineage. But I like a lion. It's funny because someone had just asked me, I had a client in here yesterday, and I'm like, lions everywhere. What's the lions? And I'm like, because lion's the king of the jungle, right? And the lion's job, what I love about lion is not just there to usurp its authority. It's there to protect the pride, right? It's there to protect everything, right? The land. And so, that's where I'm at. If I was able to reach a certain level of success and not bring the masses with me and protect them also, it wouldn't mean much of anything to me. If you said, I'm a billionaire and everyone else is impoverished, wouldn't mean too much to me. If I become a billionaire, or rather when I become a billionaire, it is my duty, it is my responsibility to bring people with me. I saw this thing again. I don't typically get into politics, to each his own, but it's Ronald Reagan, and again, like him or not, he shared a story how he went to a friend's house, married couple that had a young daughter, and the young daughter comes up to me and says, "Nice to meet you," and he goes, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And granted, this is in the '80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
She says, "I want to be president."
Mm.
Right? You go, okay. He goes, "Well, what would you do if you were the president? What's the first thing you would do?" She said, "I would make sure that every homeless person had a roof over their head and food on the table." Mm-hmm. Right? And these were like a stout, like democratic, like family, like ideals that had been part of her. So as she says that, her parents are beaming like, "That's our daughter." Like, wow, that's really cool. And he said, "Okay, I'll tell you what." He said, "You come over to my house and you wash the dishes and you mow the lawn and you wash my car. I will give you $50 and you can go down to the homeless shelter and give the $50 to the homeless person." And she said, "Okay, but why wouldn't the homeless person come and wash your car and mow your lawn and wash the dishes?" And he said, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah, welcome to the Republican Party." Right?
Yeah.
And her parents were mad. He's like, and he was like, "I never talked to them ever again."
Yeah.
But I say this all to say, forget Democrats and Republicans.
There's a principle there.
The principle for me that resonates more with me than just handing out to people or using a biblical reference isn't to feed people. It's to teach them how to fish.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so this thing for me isn't for somebody to be like, "Wow, I can't wait till he makes it, so I get my hand out."
Sure. No.
I would say I can't wait until he makes it so he can show me all the things he did wrong. So I don't have to go through the same path and that I can match or ideally surpass him.
Sure.
And that's what I'd want people to take away from.
So one final question for you.
Sir.
We're sitting here in Pasadena, California, my birthplace, Huntington Memorial. Grew up on Los Robles. My uncles were homeless on Orange Grove and Marengo, Fair Oaks and Orange Grove. My youngest uncle got shot and killed in this city. My mother and father become drug addicts in this city. You're a black multimillionaire. I'm a black multimillionaire. Somebody asked me the other day, is it possible, or actually the question was, which I actually answered on my Instagram, but it said, is it harder to make $1? Is it harder to be successful? Is it harder to go and do what you've done? Is it harder to do what I've done? Is it possible to do for everybody, or do you have to be ultra special if you are a black American?
No, I don't think, look, we're all dealt a hand, using a poker reference, right? And maybe someone's starting hand is better than someone else's starting hand. But we're all dealt a hand, and it's not the hand you're dealt, it's how you play it that matters, right? And I have more blessings and favor and given, and look, I was born here also, Huntington Memorial. I was also born in the city, but our starts were very different. One could argue that I had a more advantageous start than you did, right? Does it make me better? Does it make me worse? There are other people that had, maybe they were born, at Cedar Sinai in Beverly Hills, and they got the trust fund at 18. I had $100.
And have worked way less.
I venture to say I'm probably more successful than most people that went to Harvard, Stanford, Yale, Princeton. I didn't go to an Ivy League school, but I'm a freaking grinder, right? And there are some people that maybe never even went to college that are more successful than me. So forget, but this is where I was born. That's the one thing about this country that is amazing. It's one of the few places in the world where your beginning does not dictate your end. Where you can truly change your stars. There's a lot of places. I forget who I was just speaking to. I think it was in India. It was in India. But if you are a housekeeper, your children are going to be housekeepers, right? Like
In India.
India is like this is what it is, and there's lots of places fill in the country, but there's lots of places like if that is what you are, then that is what you are. Another gal I was talking to was she was from Nicaragua. Same thing. She was like, if you're rich, then you're rich. Like she told me she got a job at a bank and a lady with 20 years more experience that she would actually go to like, can you help me? She was a 23-year-old manager, but it's going to this 40-year-old woman for advice because that woman, she was really good and really smart. But because of who her family was and how she was born, she's like, the bank was never going to promote her. She was always going to stay at that subservient level. So no, right? Like, oh, you're a black man in Southern California. It's so hard for you. Like, maybe, right? Maybe not, right?
Maybe not.
But it's there. I would say in closing, choose your hard. Winning is hard. Losing is hard. Choose your hard. Being rich is hard. Being poor is hard. Choose your hard. Being married is hard. Getting divorced is hard. Choose your hard. Being in shape is hard. Being out of shape is hard. Choose your hard. You played football, so you can appreciate. I don't know if you were as good as me, but let's just say you were a tier down, right? Because I was him. You know what I mean? I did have one game as a senior, 9 carries, 191 yards, and 5 touchdowns. But I mean, I'm just saying. But let's just say
one game.
Let's just say. But you'll appreciate this. Game of football. Wide receivers running down the field. Quarterback rears back, throws in the ball. Wide receiver goes to catch the ball. What does he see out of the corner of his eye? He sees that defensive back coming. He has a choice, Jamil. He can go up and catch the ball, or he can short arm it and protect himself. Either way, what's going to happen?
He's going to get hit.
Either way, he's going to get hit. Here's my closing remarks to your listeners, right? If you're going to deal with the challenges of this life and business and family and politics and religion and health and wellness and all the crap that we have to deal with, right? If you're going to endure all of these things in your life, in your career, in your company, catch the ball.
Catch the dang ball.
We didn't come this far just to come this far. Catch the ball. Make it all worthwhile. Because either way, you're going to get hit.
Yes, sir. I think on that note, man, I appreciate you for joining The Difference. You guys, follow this man. We'll have all of his handles in the show notes. And we out, man. Selfie Taylor, that's a wrap. Man, what a way to end it.